Listen, my friend, let me take you on a journey back in time. Imagine with me, Egypt, thousands of years ago, was divided into two halves, north and south, each with its own king. Until one man came along, named Menes. This man did something no one before him had been able to do. He united all of Egypt, making it one country. From that moment, the world changed. Egypt became strong. It had an army and a system, and the Nile flooded every year, making the land green and the crops filled the country. People lived in prosperity and comfort, as if the world had smiled upon the Egyptians. But the pharaohs, no, they weren't like everyone else. They wanted something greater than rule. They wanted immortality, to live on in the memory of time even after they died. And this is where the story began. The small tombs they used to build their kings grew and became huge and transformed into tall mastaba. And then the crazy idea came. Why not build a monument that would stand for thousands of years? And here emerged the ultimate form, the pyramids. But let's compare. How was the world at the time? In Iraq, for example, they were still writing their first letters on clay tablets. In the Indus Valley, they lived in simple brick cities. And in China, the small villages around the Yellow River. And in Europe, they were collecting stones, like Stonehenge, but without writing or a real civilization. While the whole world was still learning to live, the Egyptians were thinking about how to immortalize themselves and remain eternal. The pyramids, my friend, were not just tombs. This was a message to the whole world. We are here, and we will remain here, even after we die.
After King Menes united Upper and Lower Egypt, the country entered a new era filled with strength and stability. But the kings weren't just thinking about ruling. They had a greater goal: how to immortalize themselves and live forever. From pits to mastabas, initially kings were buried in pits underground, with tools, food, and utensils placed with them. All this was to provide them with provisions for their journey to the afterlife. Over time, the Egyptians invented something new, the mastaba, a rectangular mud brick building above ground. It was as if they were saying, the king is not an ordinary person. He has a higher status. End of the first dynasty. The first dynasty, founded by Menes, enjoyed a good period, but with its last king, the world began to erode. Struggles over power increased, and the prestige of the throne weakened. Their tombs in Abydos were slightly larger than those before them, but still underground. The kings were buried surrounded by their entourage and soldiers, evidence that the concept of the grand royal tomb had begun to evolve. The second dynasty, a period of turmoil and transition. With the beginning of the third dynasty, King Djoser arrived. A king with an ambition to leave behind an unforgettable legacy. And here appeared Imhotep, the brilliant minister, a man who was a doctor, an engineer, and an astronomer, one of the greatest minds in history. Imhotep looked at the mastaba and said, "Why should we leave it one story? Why not build it stacked on top of each other, like a ladder to heaven?" And indeed, he built the first pyramid in history, the step pyramid of Saqqara. What was not just a tomb, the ancient Egyptians saw it as a ladder to immortality, the king's road to reach the gods and live forever. Imagine, and here we are building the first pyramid. In Sumer, present-day Iraq, they built ziggurats, huge temples to the gods, not tombs for kings. In the Indus Valley, present-day India and Pakistan, cities were planned and had sewage systems, but there were no buildings for eternity like in Egypt. In China, people still live around the Yellow River in simple villages. And in Europe, communities are small. They built stone circles like Stonehenge, which was built centuries after the Pyramid of Djoser. The bottom line: while the world was still trying to organize itself, the Egyptians were ahead by leaps and bounds. From an underground pit to a mastaba to the first pyramid in history. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning that would pave the way for the greatest architectural achievement known to mankind: the Pyramids of Giza.